Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission, regular meeting, June 13th, 2018. If we could all stand for the pledge.
Except maybe.
Seeing that our secretary is absent, Jody, could you take the call?
Mr. Zebek?
Here.
Mr. Frederick?
Present.
Mr. Fritz?
Here.
Mr. Jenkins?
Here.
Mr. Garbrick?
Here.
And Mr. Anger?
Here.
Stefan is excused.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. If anyone would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda. I move approval of the agenda as published.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of May 23rd, 2018. For anybody that was here, would like to make a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of May 23rd, 2018.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't present.
Thank you. Next, we have public comment. This is for anybody that would like to make a comment that isn't already on the new business of the public hearing today. If anyone would like to speak on something not on the agenda. If no one has anything to say, we'll move on to the new business, which is open to the public hearing regarding the request of White Diamond Development for approval for a preliminary planned unit development plan for a 20-unit condominium project on parcel number 5802033049000, otherwise known as 6695 Jackman Road, Temperance, Michigan.
Move to open the public hearing.
Support.
All right. Do we have someone that would like to come up and give us a...
Would you like me to go over mine first?
Yes, please. Oh, I'm sorry, we got to vote for the public hearing.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Zebek?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Garbrick?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes. All right. Karen, if you'd like to give us the rundown?
Yes, the applicant, White Diamond Development of Lambertville, contact persons are Brad Greeley and Brad Helm. Owners are the same. Location is Jackman Road, north of Smith Road, and it is a portion of 5802033049000, R2A, single-family residentially zoned. I'm going to give a brief history. On January 1, 2016, the Township Board granted preliminary PUD approval for a 69-unit PUD development. According to the zoning ordinance, section 400-1703A.6, the applicant had 12 months to submit for a rezoning and final PUD. While the plan was submitted for final PUD approval prior to the 12-month deadline, on January 19, 2016, the developer requested an extension due to the International Fire Code of 2015 regarding remoteness and the development's required second means of ingress-egress, meeting the separation requirement of the Fire Code of 2012, Appendix D. At the Township Board meeting on January 19, 2016, an extension of the preliminary PUD approval for Apple Creek Estates was granted. Since the 2016 granted preliminary extension, the International Fire Code 2015 was adopted by the Township Board with the omission of Appendix D regarding a second means of ingress-egress relative to the number of homes within the project. As well, the MDEQ has made a wetland determination requiring the developer to redesign the layout and decrease the number of units by 49. Therefore, the once proposed 69-unit development has been redesigned with 20 units. Regarding site characteristics, the subject parcel is currently R2B, single-family residential zone, and located on Jackman Road, north of Smith Road. The parcel is approximately 25.636 acres, where 23.785 acres are being proposed for planned unit development. The project has frontage on Jackman Road, and the proposed development has a boulevard-type ingress-egress with 2 crossovers. On January 16, 2018, the Township Board granted approval on the depth of the proposed cul-de-sac. The The PUD will be constructed in a single phase with a total of 20 single-family building sites. While the township can request up to a 100-foot setback for PUD developments, the developers are requesting a 65-foot perimeter setback, and it has been the practice in the past that the setback be relaxed when a residential PUD is adjacent to residential zoning districts. The properties to the north are R2B single-family residential, to the east RT two-family residential, and C1 general commercial, and R2B single-family residential to the west. Excuse me, and R2B single-family residential to the west are R3 single-family residential, and south R3 single-family residential, RT two-family residential, and PBO professional business office. Municipal water and sanitary sewer service will be available to the site. The roads are private and will be built to Monroe County Road Commission standards. The private paved asphalt boulevard is 65 feet outside edge to outside edge pavement, which includes 12 feet of paved roadway and an 8-foot bike lane. All storm drainage is private and will be designed and built to public standards. Any preliminary approval should be contingent upon addressing all issues and obtaining approvals from the reviewing agencies, including the Monroe County Drain Commission, which for the preliminary granted approval on 5/7/2018, the Monroe County Road Commission 5/15/2018, Manikin Smith Group 5/14/2018, and the Fire Department 5/2/18. Prior to any final PUD consideration, the applicant shall prepare a PUD agreement, and all necessary condominium documents shall be submitted and approved by the township attorney. Second, the special assessment district for the street lighting shall be entered into between the township and the developer. 3, all color scheme building materials and building renderings shall be submitted. And 4, a landscaping and buffering plan shall be submitted. It should also be noted that a condominium association shall be established. And we did include all of the review letters for the conceptual approval. And again, the cul-de-sac length does exceed what was permitted by our development design standards, and they did receive approval, again, from the township board on that. All of the items within the reviewing agency letters will be addressed prior to final PUD approval.
Thank you, Karen. Would you like to, and a representative for the, is there anything you'd like to add that maybe Karen missed?
I think she gave a pretty thorough listing of the long and torturous path we've taken with this property. You know, and our thought is just to do a more executive subdivision in there. And that way it's going to allow us to stay out of all the wetlands and just have those as natural areas within people's building sites or rear yards or in some of the open spaces.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
Okay.
We can call you back with more questions. So at this point, if anybody would like to have a comment on as far as this goes, they can come up to the podium and speak now. If there's no other public comment, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Support. Second.
Second. Mr. Frederick, sorry.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Garbrick?
Yes.
Mr. Zebek?
Yes.
Mr. Enger?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. All right. I would like to let you know that we are one member short, so we will still need a majority vote tonight. Would you like to proceed? Yes. He would like to proceed, so yes, Mr. Frederick?
Karen, has the underlying parcel, has that been rezoned to PUD? That's happened before I got here?
That they never went to final PUD, so it has not been rezoned to PUD. However, the density that they're proposing is less dense than what the current zoning of R2. So when we get to the final PUD, we will then rezone it to PUD
Okay,
at that
because
time.
I've seen a couple finals in here somewhere, and I didn't know
Right.
whether it had been rezoned yet or not.
No, it has not.
The last question that I have is, MDEQ satisfied with this plan? Have they issued, hello? You give me, I got the evil eye over there.
Well, no.
They don't review the plans, they just review what we'll be doing in there. So when we take these plans and apply for our sewer permit, our water permit, our NOC permit, and our outfall permit, they will review the plans at that time.
Okay,
So that's why our intention is to design this around the wetlands and not be impacting them at all.
that's my question. So I guess that when we get to the final PUD, there'll be a provision, at least that I think will be added, if not here at the township board, that you will comply with all MDEQ requirements.
Well, we couldn't get our
I know
permits.
that, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
we can't get a permit without doing that.
I have been aware of some folks who tried to sneak around MDEQ, and it was not a happy sight when they showed up. That's my last question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Yes, Mr. Jenkins?
Maybe you remember.
Madigan Smith letter says that Outlot A is totally within the 100-year floodplain. Are you still gonna split that off and sell it?
Yes.
Even if it's very difficult to,
It may be a challenge
Yeah.
for whoever buys it to
Brad.
build them. Yes, that's our intention. It may be a challenge for somebody to build on that, but it's not impossible. I did one in Erie, on Erie Road just two years ago, where the house was entirely within the 100-year floodplain. So it's not impossible. It just takes a little longer.
can be done.
Can be done.
The other question, or I guess heads up, is that more than likely lots 11 through 18 are gonna require lot depth to width ratios. So sometime between now and then, more towards your final, you might want to consider that.
What's that, Dennis?
Lots 11 through 18 will require a lot depth to width ratio
Oh, okay.
waiver. Yeah, that's all I had.
This was a difficult property looking at it, with the wetlands and everything. Pull that off, that's a,
One other question.
Mr. Frederick?
Karen, can you advise me again? I had this circled, the Outlot A is located completely within the 100-year floodplain. At one time, the township required a statement on the deeds with respect to floodplains and things like that. Is that still in vogue or not, or do we know?
I would have to verify that with the assessing department.
Okay.
If it is,
And the only
They
reason I
have
ask
not-
is when some of these developments were put in place several years way back, the purchaser often did not know that there was a floodplain, 100-year or 10,000-year, or whatever. They didn't know one traversed their property. And at one time, there was a move afoot at the township to require a notation on the deed that there was a floodplain, 100-year floodplain that crossed their property. I don't know if that's still in place or if it ever went anywhere.
I will verify that with the assessor, and I will make sure that I
Good,
make note of
thank
it
you.
when it
That-
goes to
I
the
forgot
township
that
board. I also want to mention that this property has not yet gone through the land division process. Right now, those two outlots are part of this larger parcel.
I understand.
But they are being split off. So once it goes through the land division as well, the assessing department will be taking a look at, but I will have that answer when it
Okay,
goes to the
thank you,
township board.
thank you very much. I forgot that, sorry.
All right. Is there any other comment or questions? We have already closed the public hearing. If there's no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend approval of the Request of White Diamond Development for approval of a preliminary planned unit development plan for a 20-unit condominium project on parcel number 58-02-033-049-00, otherwise known as 6695 Jackman Road, subject to compliance with the March 15th, 1918 letter, or 2018 letter from Monroe County Road Commission, the May 7th, 2018 letter from Monroe County Drain Commission, the May 14th, 2018 letter from Manick and Smith Group, and the May 2nd, 2018 Fire Department letter. With a note to the applicant that reminding of lots 11 through 18 will eventually require a lot depth to width ratio waiver, and also that we waive the 100-foot perimeter setback requirement down to 65 or of 65 feet?
No, 35 feet.
35, feet. Okay, 35 feet. And that prior to final plan approval, if possible, typical building design drawings be submitted with the plan. You're gonna sell these to individual builders, or?
Our intention is to build most of them ourselves,
Okay.
but we may sell one or two, so it would be, the home designs would vary depending on the customer preference.
Yeah, okay. That's my motion.
Mr. Frederick?
Friendly amendment?
Yeah.
I'll second it, but I'll friendly amendment. And also compliance with MDEQ with respect to any wetland issues that arise prior to the final PUD approval.
Okay, agreed.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes?
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Garbrick?
Yes.
Mr. Zebek?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Next, we have public comment. This is for anyone that would like to make a comment at this point. They can come to the podium. You can ask a question. I don't know if it'll be answered. Could you just state your name and address, please?
Paula Fellman, 7120 Jackman Road.
Thank you.
My concern is the flooding, since it is wetlands, and knowing that some of the plots are directly on the wetlands. And what is to happen? I'm told that they're not to build on the wetlands, but who's going to check and make sure that doesn't happen so that we alleviate any more flooding, if I get flooding? If anyone can answer that.
If someone knows the answer, they can answer. I don't know the answer to that question.
I can't answer it.
Yeah, I'm not sure we know the answer to that.
Well, I would imagine that if they will have restrictions in the deeds, correct? Stating that the wetlands are there and that you can't do anything in them. And I would imagine that if some of the neighbors see anything going on in the wetlands, MDEQ would be the first ones to find out. So it's kind of a self-policing thing.
Mm. Okay. But you are trying to avoid building on the wetlands, since you're not supposed to anyways? You're trying to, you said you're going to make it an executive? What is that exactly, if I can? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? All right. With that, is there any new information, Karen?
We will be having a meeting in 2 weeks. Other than that, I don't think there's anything new.
All right, thank you. Any commission or staff comment? With that, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
So move, support, do it. Let's go home.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.